People say blood is thicker than water. They have never had a mother who decided that meant your sister's debt was more important than your roof. I bought my house with 9 years of disciplined saving and a mortgage no one in my family knew I could afford. I went to a conference for 5 days. When I came back, the locks were changed, my sister's creditors had been paid, and my mother was waiting on the porch to explain why I should understand. $214,000. My sister hugged her. My mother cried. And I smiled because they had sold something they did not own. Welcome to Midnight Drama Stories. If you've ever been the responsible one nobody thanked, you're in the right place. Drop your time zone in the comments. I want to know where you are right now. And if this story hits home, subscribe. You belong here. My name is Claire Bennett, and I am 34 years old. I work as a compliance auditor for Hartman Financial Group in Asheville, North Carolina. My job is to review loan documents, verify signatures, and catch discrepancies before they become fraud. I read contracts the way some people read mystery novels, slowly, with a highlighter and a growing sense of dread about what I'm going to find on page 17. I drive a 2016 Honda Civic with 140,000 miles on it. The check engine light has been on for 8 months. I know exactly what's wrong with it, and I know exactly how much longer I can wait before I fix it. I am very good at math. I drink tea, not coffee, Earl Grey with honey, in the same blue ceramic mug I bought at a yard sale in 2017. The handle is slightly loose. I have never bothered to glue it. Some flaws are easy to live with when you know they're there. My grandmother left me a quilt when she passed. Hand-stitched, every square a different fabric from dresses she'd worn or curtains she'd kept. I sleep under it every night, not because I'm sentimental, because it's the perfect weight, and my grandmother understood that practical things can also be beautiful. Let me tell you something about being the child your mother doesn't worry about. It sounds like trust. It is neglect dressed in a compliment. What it actually means is you are the one she doesn't think about. You are the foundation she never inspects because it hasn't cracked. You hold up the house and she redecorates the rooms without ever asking if you're tired. My mother, Patricia Bennett, is 61 years old. She works part-time at a local boutique and lives in the same rental townhouse she's been in for 12 years. She has 2 daughters, me and my younger sister, Vanessa. Vanessa is 30, recently divorced, and the kind of person who treats a credit limit like a suggestion from someone who doesn't understand her potential. She has a daughter, Emma, who is 5 years old and perfect in every way her mother is not. Vanessa is magnetic. Vanessa makes people laugh. Vanessa has never met a problem she couldn't charm her way around or a bill she couldn't ignore until someone else paid it. And my mother's only response has ever been, "She's going through a hard time." Hard time, in my mother's vocabulary, has lasted 30 years. When I graduated summa cum laude from UNC Chapel Hill, my mother sent a text. "Proud of you, honey." 3 words. When Vanessa got a new haircut, my mother posted 6 photos on Facebook and called her, "my beautiful girl," in every single caption. I am not bitter. I am accounting for it. There is a difference. Here is the number you need to remember. $214,000. That is what Vanessa owed. 4 credit cards maxed to their limits, a car lease on a BMW she surrendered after 9 months, personal loans from 2 different online lenders at interest rates that should be criminal, and a remaining balance on furniture she bought for an apartment she got evicted from. She was 30 years old with a kindergartner and a debt load that would take 2 decades to clear. And my mother's response was, "Family helps family." I want you to understand, help in my mother's language had no ceiling and no accountability. It just meant Vanessa cried and someone else paid. Let me tell you about the house. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a kitchen with white subway tile I installed myself, and a back deck that got morning sun at exactly 7:43 every day in the summer. The front door was painted navy blue. I picked that color because it made me feel like I lived somewhere intentional, like someone had made a choice and stood by it. I bought it 4 years ago with a 15% down payment, 9 years of saving, 42 months of bringing lunch from home. A high-yield savings account my mother never asked about because she never asked about anything that didn't involve Vanessa. I painted every room. I refinished the hardwood floors on my knees over a long weekend in March while listening to a podcast about estate law. I planted herbs in the backyard, basil, rosemary, thyme, and I used them. My grandmother's quilt was on the bed. The blue mug was in the cabinet. The house smelled like lemon cleaner, and the lavender candle I burned on Sunday nights. It was mine. Now I need you to understand something because it matters in about 6 minutes. When I bought the house, I put it in a revocable living trust. My name is the trustee. The trust is the owner. I did not do this because I suspected anyone. I did this because I am a compliance auditor. I see people lose property every day because they didn't protect it on paper. A trust protects assets from probate, from creditors, and from people who think they can sign documents they have no authority to sign. I set it up the same week I closed on the house. I filed it with the county. I did not mention it to my family because my family did not ask, and I had learned a long time ago that Vanessa's crises were loud and my precautions were invisible. I did not know it yet, but in 5 days, my mother was going to try to sell every square foot of that house. And the only thing standing between me and homelessness was a piece of paper she didn't know existed. The conference was in Charlotte. 3 days of compliance training, new federal regulations, case studies on mortgage fraud. I stayed an extra 2 days to visit a friend from college. I texted my mother before I left. Gone until Thursday. Water the basil, if it doesn't rain. She replied with a thumbs up emoji. That was the last normal thing she ever sent me. Charlotte was fine. The conference was boring in the way professional development always is. My friend Sarah and I got dinner at a place with good pasta and too loud music. I slept in a hotel bed that was too soft. I thought about my house exactly twice. Once to wonder if the basil was getting enough sun. Once to remind myself I'd left the porch light on. On Wednesday, I called my mother. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I texted, "Everything okay?" She replied 6 hours later. "Fine. Busy. Talk soon." There was something in that reply. Not the words. The timing. My mother is never too busy to text me back in under an hour. Not because she prioritizes me, because she has nothing else to do. I called Vanessa. Straight to voicemail. I texted. Nothing. I called Sarah. Does it feel weird to you that both of them aren't answering? Sarah, who has met my family exactly once and formed an opinion she's been politely holding back ever since, said, "When has your mom ever been too busy for anything?" I packed my bag that night. I left Thursday morning 1 day early. I drove 2.5 hours with the check engine light glowing on the dashboard and a feeling in my chest I couldn't name yet. The kind of feeling you get when you know something is already over and you just haven't seen the evidence. There is a specific kind of silence that lives in a driveway when you pull up to your own house and something is wrong. Not loud wrong, quiet wrong. The kind where everything looks the same, the blue door, the basil in the back, the porch light still on, but the air feels rearranged. I got out of the car. I walked up the steps. I put my key in the lock. It went in, but it didn't turn. I pulled it out, looked at it, put it back in, tried again. The lock was new, brass, shiny. It did not know my name. I want to tell you what it feels like to put your key in your own front door and realize you have been erased. It is not dramatic. It is small and administrative. It is the feeling of a fact you cannot argue with. I walked around to the back, looked through the kitchen window. My dishes were gone. My grandmother's quilt was not on the bed. There was a moving box on the counter, and inside the house, standing in my living room, was a woman I had never seen before holding a paint swatch up to the wall. I knocked on the glass. She startled, came to the door, opened it cautiously. "Can I help you?" Her voice was kind, confused. "This is my house," I said. She blinked. "I'm sorry, we closed on this house on Monday." The seller was very clear. Did you used to live here?" "Used to." I stood there on my own back deck and heard a stranger tell me I used to live in the house I had never left. "Who sold it to you?" "A woman named Patricia Bennett. She said it was her daughter's house, but her daughter was ready to move on." I nodded, smiled. The smile that comes when your brain hasn't caught up to your face yet. There's been a mistake. I'm the daughter, and I didn't sell anything. The woman's face changed. Not anger. Fear. The fear of someone who just realized they're standing in the middle of someone else's disaster. I drove to my mother's townhouse. I did not call ahead. I did not text. I used the spare key she gave me 3 years ago, the one I'd never needed until now, and I let myself in. My mother was sitting at the kitchen table. Vanessa was on the couch. Both of them looked up when I walked in, and I watched my mother's face do something I had never seen before. Not surprise. Preparation. She had been expecting me. Claire, sweetheart, let me explain. Whose name is on the deed, Mom?
She stopped.
Blinked. What? The house you sold. Whose name is on the deed?
Yours.
It's your house. No, I said. My name is not on the deed. The trust is on the deed. The Claire Bennett Revocable Living Trust. I'm the trustee. You're not. Vanessa's not. The woman you sold my house to just told me you closed on Monday. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Who signed the closing documents? Silence. The kind that sits in a room after a trap closes. Vanessa sat up. You put it in a trust? I put it in a trust. My mother's hands were shaking. I didn't know. Claire, I didn't know. Vanessa was going to lose everything. The creditors were calling every day. They were going to garnish her wages. I thought you'd understand. You're strong. You always land on your feet. Vanessa has Emma. She needed help. So you forged my signature on a deed transfer and sold my house without my knowledge or consent. I said it the way I say things at work. Flat.
Documented.
Already in the report. I didn't forge anything. The title company required a signature from the trustee. That's me. So unless you can show me a document I signed, which you can't because I didn't, you committed fraud. I pulled out my phone. I called my attorney. I did it right there, standing in my mother's kitchen with both of them watching. David, it's Claire Bennett. I need you first thing tomorrow. My mother sold my house while I was out of town. The property is held in a revocable trust. She had no signing authority. I need the sale voided, and I need a referral to a real estate litigator. I looked at my mother while I said every word. Her face crumbled. Not with guilt. With the realization that the daughter she had never worried about had just become the daughter she could not move. Vanessa stood up. You're really going to do this? Claire, I have a kid. And I had a house. I hung up. I looked at both of them. You took something that wasn't yours. You signed documents you had no right to sign. And you did it because you thought I'd be too kind or too scared or too well trained to fight back. You were wrong. I left. I stayed at Sarah's apartment for 3 days while David worked. The trust documents were clean. The deed was clear. The title company had accepted a forged trustee signature, which meant they were liable. The buyers, a couple named the Langs, were victims. Their money was recoverable. The sale was void. By Friday, the court had issued an emergency order. The deed transfer was invalid. My house had never legally changed hands. The Langs were devastated. I met with them and their attorney. I shook Mrs. Lang's hand and said, I'm sorry you're in this. You did nothing wrong. She nodded. She looked at me the way you look at someone when you realize the system failed you both. My mother called 17 times. I answered once. Claire, please. Vanessa's going to file for bankruptcy. I thought I was helping. You were helping yourself feel like a good mother without asking what it cost. I hung up. David referred me to a litigator who referred the case to the district attorney.
Fraud. Forgery.
My mother could be charged. Vanessa could be charged. The notary who notarized a signature without verifying identity could lose their license. I didn't push for charges. But I didn't stop them either. I let the system do what the system does when someone hands it clean documents and a clear crime. The house came back to me on a Tuesday. I stood on the front porch with a new key, the 4th key, and I unlocked my own door. The Langs had moved their boxes out. They left a note on the counter. We're so sorry. We hope you can make this home again. I could. I did. I hung my grandmother's quilt back on the bed. I put the blue mug back in the cabinet. I planted new basil. My mother and I do not speak. Not because I hate her. Because I am done being the child she only thinks about when she needs something I have. Vanessa filed for bankruptcy. She moved in with a friend. Emma stayed with her father while Vanessa sorted her life. She did not call me. I did not call her. Sarah came over for dinner the first night I was back. I made pasta. We ate on the back deck. The sun hit at 7:43, right on schedule. You okay? She asked. I'm home, I said.
And that was enough.
Let me tell you something about family. The people who love you don't sell your house. They don't forge your name. They don't ask you to understand why you should lose everything so someone else can avoid consequences. My mother sold my house. I kept the deed. And the woman with the paperwork turned out to be the one they should have asked first. 9 years of saving. 5 days of theft. 1 trust document. And 1 blue mug with a loose handle that outlasted all of it. Some things break. Some things hold. I know the difference now. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Midnight Drama Stories. The tea's still warm. The handle's still loose.
I'll see you next time.